Good evening, family. Welcome to another edition of Thorough Black Talk with your sister Keisha, your brother Tad, your brother Ashe SJ will be joining us shortly. And of course, we will have our brother Blacksmith join us in the later part of the broadcast. Glad to be black with you all again this week. Got to keep it 100. A lot has been going on. We're in the midst of a crazy heat wave across the globe. So we're going to get into all of that and what's happening with that. We also have with us tonight our brother Omar Wali Africa will be joining us in a few. We're going to chop it up about his new project, his new film project that he has coming up. And hopefully that will be of some sort of interest to you all. A lot of things also been spreading around on social media. We're going to deal with some of the things that we are seeing in Twitter spaces and in Instagram spaces that, we think you all might be interested in hearing something about. Also, crime is at an all-time high right now here in the United States. In just about every major urban epicenter, there is high crime. But, when I hear these politicians talk about the crime rate and what's happening, um, they never really talk about the root of it. Because to talk about the root of it, you will have to, as Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad say, lift the veil of or the skirt of those who are in charge. And when you lift that veil and you see who's behind it, they don't really want to go that far, just to criminalize us and keep us in the penitentiary, to keep the slave trade going, and so on and so forth. So we're going to get into all of that. Also, here in New York, I don't know if you all know, but there was a stabbing by a Bodega employee against a black man. Um, we're going to get into that and comments from the mayor and the district attorney, because if it's happening here, it's happening where you are. And if not yet, it's soon to come. Also, the beating and tasing of Brandon Calloway in Oakland, Tennessee. We're going to get into all of that. First, let me give some quick shout outs. Give a shout out to Brother Ray Ray and the BK William Mackey History Club. Shout out to them. You want to be in tune with Thorough Black Talk so that you can get the information to next week's Zoom History Club meeting. We post it every time on our Thorough Black Talk Facebook pages. Also, shout out to BEPPAA and CMOTAP 24th annual Dr. John Henry Clark tribute, that's going down July 30th and 31st. And you guys can see it live on Zoom as well. And we'll show the flyer for that a little bit later. Serious lineup in giving honor to Dr. John Henry Clark. And then we want to discuss manhood, black manhood. Have a clip of a throwback that I think we should play again. A clarion call to real black manhood, by Michael Graves of 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Care. Today marks the anniversary, I believe, in 2020 is when Sister Jennifer on Long Island, New York, was harassed by her neighbor and threatened by the neighbor to leave the community, to leave the area in which she purchased a house, threatened her and her daughter. And our brothers from the CRIP organization pulled up and made sure that sister was protected and looked after. And then other community groups and organizations began to show up as well to show support of this sister who was harassed. So, we are under a new regime, and yet still Black people are facing all kinds of hell. And Everyone has, as Dr. Claude Anderson says, has jumped ahead of us as far as getting tangibles here in this country. Um, as he said, we used to be number two. Now you're down to number four. And if you, in my opinion, we down to number five because I think we come below dogs too. But we're going to talk about all of that, how we can change these things. Also, some of the comments that I've been seeing in these Twitter spaces, people talking real crazy and real reckless, and people getting in their feelings about how certain persons like to identify themselves. And what this shows me is that um, though our brothers and sisters mean well, you have not studied the mistakes of history, and you are repeating the same errors that the Black Panther Party, the US organization, and many others made. Same mistakes that they made. I see this thing happening again. This need to be in control. We have a nasty behavior, a nasty disposition about being in control, telling people how they should live, how they should identify. And I'm not talking about the LGBTQ people. I'm talking about Black people. People in these Twitter spaces, they're talking about, well, I'm not an African, I'm an African, I'm B1, I'm not B1. So we're going to get into all of that because we are making the same mistakes of yesteryear. And this time is even more damaging because back then we didn't have the spaces of, social media. Malcolm and Martin and Garvey and Fannie Lou Hamer and others didn't have to deal with the bombardment of social media commentary and these rooms that's really causing serious division amongst the people. And and like I said last week, I don't understand why we can't grasp the need and the fundamental understanding of what intelligence is. So we'll continue that conversation as well because it all ties together with, some of the craziness that we are seeing in social media spaces. So shout out to Sister Farnessa on the check-in. Hope everything is good with you and your family. And before I move even further, shout out to my family. My cousin Michelle is going through some serious medical challenges right now. And we all send our prayers and well wishes to her. And for those family members who have been calling me today, I will get back in touch with you later on this evening or tomorrow morning for sure. Sister Joyce, Brother Monty on the check-in. How y'all feeling? What's good, Brother Monty? Hope everything is well with you. Every time I look at, you know, um, defense applicants or applications such as firearms, spears, swords, knives, things of that nature, I always think about Brother Monty and Sister Joyce, who always was giving me information on that very same subject, helping me to broaden my understanding of that. So, in a few minutes, we're going to have our brother Omawali Africa join us. But I want you all to understand that as we grow as a people, as we grow and try to attain freedom and reparations here in this country, we have to understand the elements that we are dealing with, that a white supremacist system has many tentacles, and we have to fight them on all fronts. And what I'm seeing lately in these social media spaces, in particular Twitter spaces, we don't understand the power of the enemy. And we put everything out on Front Street, and it's very damaging to our progression. So I want you all to understand, exactly what I mean when I say that in order for us to be free, you can't fight your enemy one dimensional. when he's fighting you on multi fronts. And we seem to be narrow minded in our approach to attain success as far as reparations or freedom is concerned. Um, and if we don't understand, the errors of history, we're doomed to repeat it. And I'm seeing this, and it's very, very disturbing to me. And some people who, I respect, getting caught up in this foolishness. And this is what, the enemy wants you to do. They want you to get distracted. They want you to be distracted. They want you to be off guard. They don't want you to be focused in your approach to attaining freedom, reparations, or anything else. And in these social media spaces, it's becoming more and more difficult for our people to maintain, number one, an attention span longer than 5 minutes, two, an understanding and a goal that we have the same enemy and we should be fighting him, consistently, the same way that our enemy fights against us. I don't like to see, these I don't even like to refer to them as relationship spheres, that are also damaging, to us as a people. So many of us are getting caught up, and so many of us are in denial. And this illusion that perfection is is the standard is absurd, because no one is perfect. No one. And I see these spaces, and it's really, really bothering me. And then we got to deal with these cult folks getting arrested. Something that we've spoken about here, not just on this platform, but on other platforms, to be leery of. And you know, yet we are right again. Dealing with also Jesse Lee Peterson. Face up to his sweetness, Brother Tad. And let me tell y'all, Brother Tad be starting most of the trouble because he be sending me this stuff. So if I get a little hot, and upset, just know that this Brother Tad, Sister Marcia, who be getting me riled up. So they start with me, so I'm gonna have to start with y'all. What's up, Brother Tad? How you feeling?
Oh man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Pardon the lateness, dealing with some family issues. Shout out to the black family. Oh my goodness. You know, when they say when an elder transition, a library is burnt. So we done lost 3 libraries, and folks is running around like idiots in the family. So me and my cousin we just had a long conversation. We had to regulate, shout out to my cousin Dog holding me down, having my back. We always say we the elders. And my cousin Sandy, who's the voice of reason, and she's now one of our elders, young elders. It's just crazy, Sister Keish. But yeah, like Jesse Lee Peterson, Gazy Kojo, to your point about all of this fake leadership going on,
Fact.
just it's sad because when we was calling these people out years ago, people thought we were haters. And it was like, no, y'all don't understand the implications of these behaviors and the
Mm-hmm.
direction we want to go. People think it's all about having mass appeal, reaching people where they are. Yeah, you have to, but you can't lay in the mud with people. You got to pull them up out the mud. You can't get down in the mud with them and say, I'm down with them. So Jesse Lee Peterson, like, I've always thought he was sweet. I've always thought that. He hates black people. He definitely hates black women. So there's no surprise that one of his lover calls him out. So that lets all these other dudes on the down low, or you pedophiles, or you closet homosexuals, come out. Just be your authentic self. And that's what we always say, man. We respect you more when you are who you are. But when you put on this facade and you're not who you profess to be, it's always going to come to light. As Sister Keisha just said, nobody's perfect. And we've always said that on every platform we've been on. We're not perfect. We're not looking for perfect people. We're just trying to move in unison and get our people on one accord to work what's in our best interest. But Jesse Lee Peterson act like he was the moral high ground and black people wasn't this. And wasn't his lover Urugu?
Sure enough was.
and he messing around with white men.
Tell you, I'm telling
No
you.
different than Bayard Rustin. No different than Bayard Rustin.
That's his hero.
Yeah,
That's his hero.
you know. And then you got Gazi Kojo, who was down with the Uhuru movement, and we was
Come
telling
on.
people, we was like, no, y'all, no, he's rocking the red, black, and green flag, twerking. Sis, I hope you got some of those videos queued up, because we were telling people like, no, he can't be the face of leadership. First of all, we're promoting heterosexuality while he's promoting homosexuality. We're talking about strengthening and expanding the black family. He's talking about sexual liberation, and that's not our fight. That has never been our fight. So we have to stop adopting other people's rhetoric and ideas. So now here he go.
Gotta laugh, brother.
He tried to act like he a real warrior with what his group was called, the Hammer Club. You know,
They was hammering, all right.
yeah, right. Not the kind of hammer time I want either, right? But yeah, so he formed this pseudo militia, and it just always go wrong when people love the camera, when people are in love with the camera and they want notoriety more than work could speak for them, and they don't really have a work ethic that people could go back and look at, particularly in their group. People like to be liked on social media, get all the likes and all the followers, and they do it for the gram and they go live all the time. No, you have to do grassroots. You have to educate people, feed them, and clothe them. Food, clothing, and shelter, the basic necessities. We start there and then move forward accordingly. All that extra stuff, people running around telling black people to arm themselves, we 2A all the way. We definitely believe in the Second Amendment. But we ain't gonna tell you get no idiots, no weapons, because it's dangerous. It's dangerous, especially when you haven't even identified who the enemy is. So yeah, it's that's them. That's day bad. Because Sister Keisha, we're always vindicated.
We always, yet
Always
again, but we're gonna
vindicated.
get into all of that a little bit later, brother Tad. Of course, I got some stuff queued up. And I ain't
Yeah.
playing with these people. You know what I'm saying? Anyway,
And shout out to Cookie Monster, Big
here
Brother.
he go. Here he go. Here he go with the shenanigans already.
I'm saying.
Yo, we listen. We gonna get into all of that. We got our brother Omar Wally Africa on a check-in. What's good with you, brother? How you feeling?
What up, though?
Big Brother Omar Wiley.
What's good with y'all?
It's good to see you, brother.
Man, it's good to see you too, man. Brother Tad, I respect the work I see you doing, man, on the fitness tip.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
I got to get out to Brooklyn one day to tap in with you.
Definitely. Please do. Please
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, what's going on, Sister Keisha?
Nothing. We glad to have you with us, so we can
I'm
find out about this new project you got. You working on.
I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate y'all, offering the platform for me to come through and share information about the project and how family can get involved to support it.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, before we get into that, brother, tell us how you doing, how things are going in Philadelphia where you reside. How's the family? How's it going out there?
I genuinely appreciate you asking that. I'm doing good. I'm in the process of doing a lot of just internal work. You know what I mean? 38 years old now, I'll be 39 in January. And I've been going hard for a very long time, just at life. And sometimes when systems start to break down around you, family systems start to break down, you gotta start to reflect and be like, well, what's going on with me that my environment is in the state that it's in? So I've been trying to like pull back, especially from social media. Been trying to focus on healing, therapy, and create space for like genuine transformation. You know what I mean? So, for the last year, perhaps year and a half, we've been doing this Cobra Calisthenics situation, which is a group that we started with the aim and objective of, creating space to rehabilitate Black manhood, working with Black men mentally, physically, spiritually, and collectively working to uplift our character, strengthen our character so that we can, achieve sovereignty. And recently we kind of like took a swing into the workouts, the theme for the workouts now is like the wounded warrior workout, because we trying to create space for brothers to deal with like those unseen wounds that we walk around with, right? The emotional wounds, the psychological trauma, the spiritual trauma that a lot of us been carrying since childhood. A lot of us don't have, the emotional intelligence, the ability to express ourselves in a healthy way. And it's funny, I was just talking to my wife earlier, and you asked me how I'm doing, and this is the space that I'm in right now. But I was talking to my wife earlier, and I was like, not everybody is Jay-Z. Not everybody is going to be 48 and have access to wealth and security so that they can take the time to do that healing work, take the time to really analyze like how we're not, just emotionally available as Black men because of the society and the impacts that that has on us. So you got to have an element of even privilege or fortune to even have the space to do that self-care. You know what I mean? But that's the space that I'm in right now, sis. I'm in a real raw space. So it's me, I'm pulling back from a lot of the front facing stuff unless I need to be, like stuff like this. But I'm really just trying to be in space just to do work for me.
That's what's up. And shout out to your family, your wife, and everybody, because that's also difficult to have a spouse who is understanding and compassionate with the work that we're doing. That's very, very important. And also, those of us who are in this fight, we have to remember the principles and the quality of family. So I'm glad that you are pulling back a little bit more and give that, time back to yourself and your family,
Yeah.
because you don't want to lose that.
No, true
So
indeed.
that's definitely a plus, and kudos to you for doing that. We were just talking about, some of the things that I'm sure that you are aware of. Matter of fact, I see you in some of these spaces. This divide that is happening with our people. Um, One of the things that I mentioned last week was, you know, in order for us to progress, we are going to have an intelligence mechanism to deal with a lot of the things that we continue to get ourselves caught up in. One of the things that I am a proponent of is studying more so the errors of our history as opposed to our victories, because it is the errors that continues to play out in every movement that we afoot towards progression, for freedom and liberation. And so I'm seeing this again in these spaces, and it's the same script over and over again, and we can't seem to get out of that. We don't know how to use um, even some of the negativity can be used to our advantage if we understood the power of intelligence.
Yeah.
And so, seeing some of the commentary that's going on in this space, in these spaces, in particular Twitter spaces, um, I don't want our people to continue to go down that rabbit hole, because it's time consuming. It takes away from the real fight. And, if we continue to lock horns in this way, um, it just allows other folks to get a footing on us,
Yeah.
because um, this stuff is very disturbing that I'm seeing out here. But I don't want to get too much into that, brother. But kudos for you for doing
Real,
that,
real quick
to
though,
step
sis.
into those spaces. That shout out to Dr. Ia Ajawa. I see her in these spaces too, as well. So kudos for you to
Real
even
quick though,
take that
Sister
on.
Keisha.
Go ahead, Tad.
Because what you're saying, it braids in what Brother Omar Wali is doing though. And I think this is real important. And I'll be remiss not to tackle this point, because what he's talking about is brothers healing in these spaces. Because a lot of us come into whatever social arena we in, whether it's our religious group, our civic organization group, our cultural group, because we're layered when we talk about our Black consciousness and revolution and liberation, right? So whatever paradigm we in, but a lot of brothers come in with that trauma, and what you're talking about, Sister Keisha, help perpetuate that. So I want to ask Brother Omawali while we on that point, because we definitely have to heal these relationships, these male female spaces, this manosphere, the sisterhood thing that is now at odds. Brother Omawali, do you see a lot of brothers come in with their trauma as in relation to relationships they had with maybe their mothers or sisters they dealt with, ex-wives, current wives, baby mamas? Does that play a role in the trauma that some of the brothers have that you working with?
Absolutely. So if you're talking about the conflict that we see playing out online in particular, um, it's absolutely a manifestation of that unhealed trauma within our community that keeps us, fragmented. Because the way that trauma works, in some ways it disassociates you from yourself, so you don't even have a healthy relationship or connection with you, because you've built up these walls, you've created this ego, you've created certain mechanisms that allow you to avoid addressing the traumatic event and the trauma responses that have become normalized as part of your um I don't want to say as part of your personality, but essentially the patterns of behavior that we engage in to avoid dealing, with that trauma. So us as Black people, I mean, Dr. Joy DeGruy talks about this in post-traumatic slave syndrome. So when you understand the way that trauma operates, I mean, we got it on multiple levels. So a lot of the dysfunction and the infighting that we're seeing playing out, like online, just gives people a bigger microphone, right, a megaphone, to put out in the world what's already within them, what's in our community. So you have a space in a lot of these YouTube spaces, Twitter spaces, social media. It becomes an environment where the most unhealed, the people who are the most dysfunctional, the people who have access to the least information, the people who have access to the least history, get to come and vent and be heard and get validated. You understand what I'm saying? Like there's nobody necessarily challenging them. So what it creates is like this echo chamber, and chambers produce confirmation bias, and then that just allows misinformation and disinformation to flourish. And the fact that a lot of these narratives that are upheld in these spaces don't necessarily hold up to the facts, you know what I mean? But that's the way confirmation bias works. You typically ignore the things that call into question what you believe, and you accept, or you look for the things that validate what it is that you believe. So this is a problem. Social media in a very real way has been weaponized against our community, or we've weaponized it against ourselves. I don't even know if that's the proper way to look at it, but
It is.
I don't know if it's a true positive at this point. Like the level of destruction that it's causing, you know what I mean? And we don't necessarily have the institutional capability to offset the damage that social media is doing, like in the real world. So a lot of our efforts have to be retrained away from the new idiot box, right? Because these screens
Yes.
are the new idiot box. They're portable idiot boxes that we just carry around with us. But we gotta retrain our efforts away from that, away from the crowd. I heard you say before I got on the danger of meeting people where they are. Like, yeah, to an extent. Like, we don't want to be in the mud, wallowing in the mud with them. I think the Minister Farrakhan, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, tells a story about during the early days of the nation, he used to be putting on these plays or whatever. And in one of the plays, he had a brother, essentially playing like a fairy, like a fruit. You know what I mean? Not a fruit like Fruit of Islam, like
Right.
like
But
a promo. You know what I mean?
fruit.
Exactly. So he said after the play, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had called him up and was like, well, I like the play, but he had a problem with that particular character. And essentially the gist of his problem was that, when we pull our people out of that mud, when we pull our people out of that water, we can't, like, what happens when you pull a fish out the sea and you leave it sitting right there on the beach, right in the sand? It's going to start floundering around and be back into the water. So he's saying, like, when you pull our people out, like, don't leave them right there, like on the sand. You got to get them away and get them into a safe space. So I say all that to say, like, we can't be doing this in between, thing where we say, like, we're going to meet the people where they are, but at the end of the day, like, we're just keeping them where they are and allowing them to stay there and be comfortable by taking certain approaches. So I think, pulling away from social media is definitely going to be an important part, but also really becoming more thorough with our work and our programming efforts on the ground. Like, so for me, the fitness, the mental health, that's something that resonates with me. So it's easy for me to build programming around that and be consistent, right? I think that sometimes, right, this problem that we face is so huge that is like, the way you eat an elephant is one bite at a time. So like you don't gotta like conquer white supremacy today, but start with doing work within you and establishing programming or initiatives right in your community, not this non-for-profit stuff. And I'm not completely against it, but stuff that is truly aimed at liberating our people and pushing our people towards sovereign consciousness. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you, brother. I think that's an eloquent answer. And real quick, I just got one question for you.
Mm-hmm.
The divide against brothers and sisters, who benefits and who loses?
Yeah, the enemy benefits and we lose. It's
All right.
the false divide. It's not a divide of our own creation.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. And see, great minds. I'll tell you, boy, great minds. We don't got time for the shenanigans over here at all. At all. I have personally removed myself away from certain entities, and folks. I don't care what others say about them. They ain't sitting right with my spirit. I'm not rocking with that at all. So I get you on that and, continue to do that, brother. And the work that you're doing as far as, the fitness and all of that is definitely key. It's and that helps with the mental as well. You know what I mean? I don't know about anybody else, but working out or biking as I normally do or what have you, it helps my mental a great deal and it helps me to focus, on what I need to focus on. And I can walk away from social media and everything else for the rest of my life. We in it because we have to be in these spaces, because as you know, brother Tad, I see people putting up things. Yo, you don't live that life. Like, where you get
Right.
that from? Like, wait a minute, hold on, wait, hold on, something ain't right here.
Yeah.
But again, we're here number one to talk about this new project
Yes,
that
sir.
brother Omar Wally got coming up.
Yeah.
Tell us about this project, brother, and what was the thought process behind it?
Yeah. For the project we're working on right now, and it's called Hannibal: The Fight for Food Sovereignty in the South. And it's a project that's meant to raise an alarm about the urgency of now, and the urgency of the moment. Right? There's a lot of conversation that's happening about global food shortages, about breakdowns in the global food system, and the reality is we as Black people, not just in the United States, like we see this insecurity across the globe. But if we're talking about here in the U.S., right, we are 100% dependent on other communities to feed us. We're 100% dependent on the industrial corporate food system to provide our life, our livelihood, right? That food is the lifeblood of a people. It's the lifeblood of an economy. It's the most basic, of our needs: food, clothing, shelter, right? So it starts with that ability to really feed yourself, because without that, everything else is insecure. So this one particular topic really does tie in every component like of our struggle, because once you start talking about food, you're immediately talking about land. And when you start to have the conversation around land, right? I start just pulling out some of the data, right? 20 and 1911, Black people in this country, African Americans, the Black population here, we had 14%, right, of the land in our possession, right? So our land ownership was in proportion to our percentage of the population. And so we had acquired roughly 20 million acres by 1920, right? And this is from from 1865 to 1920, we had acquired roughly 20 million acres of land. As of 2017, the data said that we were down to about 4.5 million acres, which represents less than a half of 1%. Right? So how do you lose $350 billion worth of land within a 100-year period to the point that we own less than 1%? Right? So how are we going to feed ourselves with these new I mean, I guess food starvation, food shortages are not a new problem, right? As we get into the history and we start to really study some of the timeline related to this project, you learn very early on that starvation and food has always been used as a political weapon. It started actually during enslavement, right? You would have cases where you could either get food as a reward, right? A good example of that is if you read the slave narratives, right? Frederick Douglass talks about when they were planning not an insurrection, they were planning an escape, and there was a handful of them planning to flee from the plantation, and one of the brothers essentially like snitched on the brothers who were trying to run, and his reward was some hot butter biscuits, like literally, like he got a fresh serving of biscuits for telling. But also, our ancestors were also punished by denying them food, right? When somebody has this much control over your reality, they can reward you and or punish you, right? If somebody has the ability to feed you, they also have the ability to starve you. So that level of insecurity is something that we've always uh been fighting to overcome, right? I tell people, like, when we talk about this timeline, yes, it starts with enslavement, but post enslavement, one of the most important historical events occurs on January the 12th, 1865. Now, this is the date where you get 20 black religious leaders, 20 black preachers down in Savannah, Georgia. They were visiting General William T. Sherman, his war encampment down in Savannah, Georgia, to have a meeting about, okay, the Civil War is over. Black people, like, what do y'all want to do? So General Sherman asked them 12 questions during this meeting. And I tell people that the most important questions asked were question 3 and question 4. The third question that he asked them was, in which way, how do y'all plan on living, within these here United States? And all of the brothers that were there answered like, listen, we need land, because if we have land, we can feed ourselves, our families, we can work the land, and we can really, we'll be good as long as we got land. And then the fourth question that he asked them was, okay, well, which way do y'all want to live? Do y'all want to live scattered among the white people, or do y'all want to live in colonies by yourself, meaning live separate? And all but one person, 19 of the 20, right? There were 20 men, 19 of them said, no, we want to live separate. Right. So 3 weeks after this meeting is where you get Field Order 15, known as 40 Acres and a Mule. Right. So this fight to feed ourselves, you trace it back to the 19th century, but in 20th century, you get the co-op movement, right? The food co-op movement, where folks like Booker T. Washington down in the South helping to create these co-ops. Of course, Du Bois was involved in that as well. But you bring it up to the middle of the 20th century, you get folks like Fannie Lou Hamer creates the Freedom Farm Co-op down in Mississippi, right? And she has this powerful quote where she says, down here in Mississippi, food is used as a political weapon. She said, but if you got a pig in your backyard, if you got a garden, then you can feed yourself and nobody can push you around. So they've always used, land and food to control us. And the thing about Baba Hannibal, because it gets into why we use Baba Hannibal as the canvas. The reason why we used him as the canvas is because he sits at the intersection of 4 or 5 important movements. He sits at the intersection of reparations, of land sovereignty, of food sovereignty, of survival, because he established a survival encampment down there in Mississippi to give people training on survivalism. But in addition to that, education. He was one of the leaders of CB, which is the Council of Independent Black Institutions. So when you examine post 1969, post 70, the formations that were being developed to address independence, to address sovereignty, Baba Hannibal's imprint is all over that. But it's a much larger story. And where we find ourselves today, I think that the same level of calamity or crisis that our ancestors were organizing to fight back against, we are once again faced with that reality. And I think it's even more severe. And for some reason we've gotten into this childlike thing where we want to put our head in the sand and not acknowledge the severity of this problem. It's a real problem to have less than 1% of the land, right? Because you then have to ask yourself, everybody, the government globally is talking about food shortages. So who's going to feed black people? Who's going to feed us? Are we familiar with what happened during the Great Depression? Right? People talk about folks like Father Divine, that fed, black people who were like starving, but like black people were literally in bread lines, and cheese lines. The reason why the Panthers created food programs and then the government went and created a food program to, essentially counteract the revolutionary efforts that we were trying to do to feed ourselves, because we were starving, right? We didn't have adequate food. So what I'm pushing with this conversation is the necessity of us to re-engage the fight for land, to reclaim the land that was taken from our ancestors, right? Because a lot of that land was stolen with the assistance of the US government. So we can't be having a conversation about reparations without that conversation being tied to the issue of land and sovereignty as well. So it's a deep story, it's a necessary story, but it's just not a historical feel good project. In a real sense, it's meant to raise an alarm about the urgency of the moment. And I always say the goal is to give our family the information and the inspiration to facilitate their activation. So get them active, become an active participant in this struggle, become an active participant in your liberation, because nobody's going to do it for you. You got to look in the mirror and see that this is the only person that's going to get it done. Right. And that's what this project is meant to achieve.
It's funny you mentioned about your time in Mississippi,
Mhm.
and studying there. I had did a lecture a few months ago on Fannie Lou Hamer and talked about that food program as well. Um, in Mississippi now, there are small pockets or communities that are literally facing what you're saying now. They are starved out. They're employed out. There is no direct transportation in and out of these train towns that the people can have quick access to, as we would call it, mass transit, to even take people in and out of these towns. It's just mind blowing that nobody talks about the level of poverty in Mississippi to this very day. So it's funny that you talked
Yeah.
about that and the initiative of your upcoming project. Now I see you're in the fundraising stage.
Yes.
Um, and I have it on the screen, family, and also the link in the chat where you guys can check out the website for yourselves and donate to this project. We encourage you to donate to this project. Reason being is we have to take care of ourselves. Brother Tad and myself, we come from real black organizations that are black led and black financed. And so that is the only way we know how to go. We shouldn't have to ask other folks to tell our story, because when they tell our story, it's not our story. It becomes their story, to make them feel good about actions taking place in history. So we encourage you all to check out the website. Please donate if you can. Check out Brother Omar Wali Africa on various media platforms. His information is also on the screen and in the chat as well. Brother, now who is working with you on this project?
My media partner, Real Shutter, is located down in North Carolina, and so he's what we call the guy in the van. You know how like you got on all these like action movies, you always got the guy in the van working the technology, like on like that's him. He's the guy behind the scenes. He has all the technical skill. I have a lot of the relationships. I have a lot of the knowledge of the story. I'm good with storytelling and script writing. So we merge our skill sets together to create these, productions.
That's what's up. And if you don't mind, can you please tell our people about your previous project?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The first project that I did was another passion project, another one to raise the alarm. It's called The Un-American Dilemma. And the project was a project about Black America's political reality, right? And this day and age. And the goal with that project was really simple. We were trying to facilitate political maturity, right? Maturation of our politics, of our understanding of the political reality here. And when you reach a certain level of political understanding where you are resolute in the knowing that there is nothing that this particular system can produce for you that will ever come anywhere close to you being given justice or being given independence or liberation or sovereignty, then you arrive at the goal or the conclusion that, oh, well, then that means I have to produce it for myself. And then you know how they say that necessity is the mother of ingenuity, right? So once you figure out that I got to produce it for myself, then you have to start asking yourself the questions, well, how do I go about doing it? And the good thing is, like, you don't got to start from scratch. Like, our ancestors have already laid down the black print. So the thing is, they don't want you to have access to those black prints, but they're available, right? You can go and read them. Like Sister Akeisha says, study not just the victory, study what went wrong so that we can adjust, our strategies, and update them for this current aspect of the war that we find ourselves in. And I use war purposefully because that's what this situation is. You know what I mean? This is, war is when another person or another group seeks to impose their will on you. And the moment you allow someone to impose their will on you, then you've essentially conceded to that you've lost the war. But as long as you have your will, as long as you have the will to resist, the will to fight, right, the will to struggle, you haven't lost, no matter how bad the conditions look. As long as you never give over your will, then you don't become a slave. Then you become you remain not a rebellious African, but a free African. Yeah, you remain sovereign in your mind and in your spirit. But the moment you give up your will, that's when you become a Negro. That's when you become a slave. That's when you become a tool of the oppressor to oftentimes be used against your enemy. So never give up your will, right? That's your agency. You understand what I'm saying? So for me, all these acts that they are doing to our people, I look at them as acts of war. Starvation and famine is an act of war. Taking land from us is an act of war. Enslaving us is an act of war. Imprisoning us is an act of war. Right? These are all people are always talking about when the race war going to start. I mean, yo, have you been paying attention to the last 5 centuries? Like, we've been in the war. What are you talking about?
And that's the truth.
Facts on top of facts. We're not gonna hold you long, brother. Um, but we gonna close out strong. How about that?
Yeah, I'm with that. I'm with that.
Definitely. Now, in this current climate, this current political climate, you and I are on the same page as far as that is concerned. Black people need to give that up until we figure out a mechanism that is black led, black finance, and black control to propel us in that arena. We need to stay the hell out of it. And I'm coming from a side of being in it. Happen to go through the political machine to run for a political office, having to see, what goes on, in these political clubs. I'm telling you, black people have no business in that arena operating the way that we currently do. It is a quick road to destruction.
Yes.
And, when I say that to certain people who complain about things that they see happening, but you voted for it. You legally gave up your voice and your power to a selected person elected to take your voice. You did that. They didn't hide their political platforms. You just didn't read it. And you know, I get a lot of backlash from that. Especially with the rhetoric of, well, our people die for the right to vote. That always gets me. That gets me.
Yeah,
And I
black
come with the
people.
proof. Let me see it. But that's neither here nor there. It's just escapism for what we really have to do.
It's
As you
trauma.
said,
It's trauma bonding. You know, we are trauma bonded to the system. We're in an abusive relationship with this system, and unfortunately, because we are in a relationship with a psychopath, a narcissist, whatever you choose to call, sometimes we find it difficult to break the cycle of abuse, right? We and some of us need, you know, the abuse to even have a sense of identity. Like we feel like we would be lost without them. So it's a real, you know, I'm trying to get an interview with Dr. Joy DeGruy to in her book post traumatic slave syndrome, because that trauma is it's a very real thing, and when you understand how it impacts our behavior, right, it can become like eye opening, and we can all, you know, start the journey individually, collectively, to do the work to address that trauma, figure out how it shows up in our life so that we can show up differently.
that's what's up. So right now, there is high crime in just about every metropolis in this country.
Yeah.
One of the things that, I hear a lot of folks complain about it, but no one wants to deal with its root cause. If you can you tell us what you think is the root cause of all of this high crime?
Yeah, I'm with Dr. Amos Wilson. You know, for me, everything is an outgrowth of our situation of being a dominated people. Like it starts with us, and I don't want people to think, oh, that's like such an oversimplification of the problem. But like the reality is, all of the so-called dysfunction and, you know, criminology that you see coming out of our community is born of the fact that, you know, we are dominated, we are landless, there's resource misallocation. This isn't a natural environment, right? People always talk about, you know, in social science they talk about like things, pecking orders. And the thing about a pecking order is like the crabs in the barrel situation. Like when chickens roam free, there's no need for a pecking order to be established. But when you put chickens in a coop, yeah, they're gonna that's antisocial behavior because of the ecosystem that you've put them into. So they're behaving in a way that is unnatural because you've created an unnatural environment for them, right? Very similar to crabs in a barrel kind of thing. It's like, you know, we act like crabs. No, crabs don't belong in a barrel. They belong in the ocean. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like when you understand that the condition of domination is what we is that is the root cause of all the problems that we have. And, you know, I guess domination is a pretty big problem to deal with because it it implies that there is an entity, right? A people, right? A matrix of institutions that you have to work to overthrow to get off of your neck in order to correct your problems, because all your problems rest in that reality. So, you know, that's the perspective that Dr. Amos Wilson put forth. And, you know, I align with that. I agree.
100. As my brother said, my brother Tad always say, you never let your Rugu off the hook.
Hmm.
Ever. Right, brother Tad?
That's a fact. And I think the brother Omar Wali laid it out. You know, it's a system of domination. And many of us react as such. In fact, real quick, even riding the train today, it was just crazy because there was a young brother singing the lyrics to some song, and subconsciously, I guess for him, that's an assertion of power to just, regurgitate what we hear in the hip hop thing. I'll kill you, I'll cut your face out, and then just it's almost like you're asserting yourself to let everybody know you're here, you're not the one to play with. But when you understand psychology, that's really a call for a call for help. That's a cry for help. It's like, when from my past experiences of being in the streets or being incarcerated, when it's time for two warriors clash, the one who's scared is always the loudest one. What? You step into me? You getting in my face, yelling for a crowd and hoping that somebody will come intervene or even break it up if you getting roughed up too bad. That's all it is. It's a ploy. So we understand that, but many of us don't understand that it's a response to the blatant and subtle oppression that we deal with every day, the macroaggression and the microaggression. But
Yeah.
I like what the brother Omawali is doing, because first we got to heal ourselves. We gotta shake ourselves of the trauma. I was having this conversation with someone yesterday, explaining that the brother Tad we see today isn't the brother Tad from 20 years ago, and that came from reflection and self-reflection and doing the deep work and the root work, denouncing a value system that was forced on me coming up in Brooklyn in the 70s, where times was hard for all of us. That made people dibble and dabble in crime, sell poison to the community, take up arms against your own brothers in your community. It's a psychosis that's been indoctrinated in us for generations upon generations.
Yeah.
And it's good that the brother's working with other brothers, because tell you the truth, brother Omawali, that's why I got into the fitness more than anything, not just for myself, but for our community. Because what I was recognizing in the movement, I see elders who talk about we're at war, but many of them are out of shape. They got gout, they got arthritis. Who are you really gonna fight? Now this is one what can I say, subculture of the Black experience. The other subculture is the incarcerated population, where brothers in their 60s and 70s talk about war, but they in great shape. They could knock a 20-something-year-old out with one punch. So I'm looking at the paradigm and how do we marry them? How do we take the physical fitness and the intuition of survival and bring it to the conscious / Pan-African liberation community? How do we marry that and make being in shape, just basically being in shape? Because a lot of us, if it's not the Urugu murdering us directly, it's indirectly through the poisonous foods. And we're not nutritionally informed on what's good for us, what's not. I'm not telling people what to eat and what not to eat. However, we should get more familiar with quality foods. As sure enough, you working around food, we need to know what proper food is.
Yeah.
So it's so multi-layered, things that we can do right where we are. So what you're doing is very important, and I co-sign it 100%.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. And listen, it's going to get done. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like
definitely,
I'm not
definitely.
I'm not necessarily tripping off the crowd fund. Like I appreciate everyone, all how many people were there? All 33 backers who've supported this campaign so far. I appreciate it. I have people privately reaching out that want to give as well. So the project is going to get done. You know what I
Yes,
mean? Because this is not my project. You know what I mean? I have a skill set, I have a mindset, but the inspiration for this, it kind of came through me for this particular moment. So this project is going to get done because this is a message that needs to be given to us at this time. Like and that's just what it is. You know what I mean? And they say that a picture is worth a thousand words. Well, how much is a moving picture worth, right? And that's what a documentary is, right? And a movie is nothing but a bunch of moving pictures. That's if you understand like film, you know what I mean, and how the science behind it. So like and a movie, you get millions of still images that are just moving really quick. That's why they call it
yes,
a movie, because it's pictures that are moving. So I'm just saying the amount of information that we can give our people in a 90-minute documentary about this issue that can electrify them, right? And turn them on to the work that can empower them to get them involved. Like that's what I'm about, man. Garvey, if we didn't learn anything else from Garvey, I would hope that we have learned the importance of propaganda. And I think that sometimes within the conscious community, like our propaganda efforts be weak, like the graphics be whack, the information is like you don't have to change the message, but you got to update the messaging. You know what I mean? Like the medium, like how you convey the message, it has to be modernized for a new generation who's been trained to consume data and information in different ways. So it's like we don't we I don't see enough of us really like just trying to take it to the next level with the propaganda. Like
That's
Garvey did in 1920, what he did with the Negro world was fantastic. But like we should have, I'm not going to say what we should have because I'm dealing with the reality of what we have and it's not much, but I'm taking what we do have access to and really just trying to raise the bar. You know, that's where I'm at with propaganda because it's important. It's war. Propaganda is an act of war.
It's funny you say that because that's the topic we discussed last week, right, Sister Keisha? Everything
Yep,
you just
facts.
said is what we just. Yes. So thank you again, brother. You know.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So it's a propaganda effort. So that's what it is. You know what I mean? It's different. It's different bullets. It's different arrows in our quiver that we can pull out. You know what I mean? To aim at the problem. And come on, man, as a storyteller, right? You can create documentaries to make money, or you can create documentaries that can make movements. You know what I mean? It's just about like, because I mean, a story is a powerful tool. I mean, African people, come on, like we are the mothers and fathers of storytelling.
That's
You
right.
know,
Aesop's fables, Anansi the spider, so many. The Saurian drama, like we're the
yeah,
creators of stories. We're the griots.
there's nothing like a good story to animate the consciousness of a people, and that's what we're doing with this Hannibal project. We're going to give people a story that's been kept away from them, and we're going to tell it to them in a way where they're going to feel not convicted but feel charged to go out and do something about the reality. That's the outcome that we want. People coming out of this activated. That's the goal.
All right.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And I know you're going to do it. I know it's going to come through the way you need it to come through.
It's going
And
to get
I
done.
have to say that for me, and I guess I could speak for Brother Tad too, because I know him well enough. But for us to see, young lions like yourself, Brother Ashe, we are elders now. So, when we can put that battery in your back to push you forward, we're going to do that 100%. And I have no shame in my game to say, that's not my expertise. I'm stepping off of this soapbox right here. Even when we got things going on, let me switch that over to Ashe because I can't do nothing with that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we have no problem with that. And I think that's a plus because from the eldership that Brother Tad and I had, you had a lot of dictatorship, if you will. And it caused such a generational gap in the movement. So we had to fight on two fronts, us in
Yes.
Gen X. We had to fight on two fronts. Am I right, Brother Tad?
100% right.
And so
but dig the trauma though. Because I was just talking about this with my wife, talking about in her family, right? So you got the so-called great generation, but following the great, you have the silent generation. That's the generation that was dealt with the Great Depression. The
right.
silent generation birthed the boomers, right? So imagine the trauma and relating or the type of parenting that was not occurring because of the trauma that we're experiencing, right? So you got that happening. So the boomers are then raising Gen X. Gen X got it bad, man. Y'all got hit with the crack epidemic, the heroin epidemic. Y'all were the first to have like this mass slaughter, happening in our communities. And it was like, suck it up. Like, what are you complaining for? It was like y'all were not able to deal with. You talked about growing up in Brooklyn, in the I mean, I'm from North Philly. Brooklyn and North Philly are very
I always say they're siblings.
Exactly. So this is traumatic living, and we haven't been able to deal with this. So from generation to generation, this trauma has been compounded. So we have this. This is the science called epigenetics that talks about the trauma that we carry in our blood and our DNA, right? The stuff that's carried down from our parents, from generations, and then the stuff that we pick up in our own life. And we have not had the time or the space, right? Getting back to land, the time or the space to deal with it, to address it. And what I like about, some of the millennial generation, which is my generation, and the Gen Zs get a lot of crap because a lot of what they do is superficial and they have access to information and they're born online. but the work that they are doing to embrace healing the trauma, so-called breaking the generational curses, we got to give them credit because they're starting early with establishing boundaries, and they're looking to say, hold on, we're not going to allow this thing to keep going. Now, at the same
Right.
time, they're being manipulated. We understand that the system is manipulating them so that they could end their lives, but we too have a say in this, right?
Right.
We cannot let our opponent just dictate what the reality is going to be. So we have a say in what the outcome is going to be as well. So I think that we have to be equally just as determined as the system is to destroy this generation. We have to be equally determined to protect this generation so that a new generation can birth from them.
And I was gonna go right there with it, because as Sister Keisha was sharing with us right now in our eldership, I explain to people I still feel the same way I do as a teenager, and still have some of the conscious residue of back then. So we have no problem with giving our young people leeway, and like you said, guide them. Not tell them what to do, but guide them, because there is a lot of misinformation that our opponents are trying to use to capture the minds of our young people. So they'll give us, as we was talking about earlier, a Gazy Kojo and people like that, to say, here's a representation of the movement, or give us a lot of integrationists under the guise of Pan-African.
Genetically modified organizers.
GMO. Yeah. And we really have to start calling them out, because a lot of people just believe because they got the information. But Sister Keisha and myself, we're from the generation where before us, those were called armchair revolutionaries. Nobody care how much you know. What are you doing with the information? Are you applying this to move the people forward? See, as intelligent as Malcolm was even a better organizer.
Yeah.
He was great at organizing, mobilizing the people. So was Dr. King. So sometimes we really have to pull our little millennials and Gen Zs when they say we are not our ancestors. And they say that because they don't understand our ancestors was the truth. We're not our ancestors. Our ancestors literally fought back.
Yeah.
Without all the fanfare and the lights and the social media.
Organizing in the 21st century is we working with a different crop of Negroes.
Yeah.
And we're working with the Negroes who are post-integration, who believe that they are American, who believe that they're white folks, some of them. You understand what I'm saying? So trying to organize these folks is, man, sometimes it can almost feel like self-defeating. You know what I mean? Because
I think it go back to a point you made earlier, though, with the propaganda. We have to make it cool. See, they follow trends. So long as what we're doing has value and it's trendy, like flashy and fly, then we'll get the folks. But if we still trying to hit them with the 1965 flyer, black and white, come on down to this, no. We have to get viral. We have to get lit. We have to talk to the young people, because a lot of our old folks they just not gonna get it.
Yeah.
They just not. And I mean to cut you off, brother.
No, you're good. But yeah, man, listen, I just want to let both of y'all know that I appreciate the support. You know what I mean? We've been on this little, and pardon my energy, man. Like my energy, I'm not in no preaching mode. You know what I mean? You know how sometimes people be like, you got to go and be like sensational and you got to pull on the heartstrings. Like, no, I'm giving you the information. You know, my producer might be mad to say, man, you should have whenever you got an opportunity, go hard. But like, I'm just being real, yo. Like, you asked where I was at, how I was doing. This is the space that I'm in. You know what I mean? This project means the world to me, but at the same time, like, I got to be real to me. You know, so just being real, like this is where I'm at right now. This is my energy. Because I am in this processing space of personal transformation, because sometimes we hit plateaus. It's just like when you working out, you know what I mean? It's the same thing in life. You elevate to a certain level of conscious, and then you can plateau. Like there's new levels, new devils. There's always inner transformation that needs to occur, healing that we need to do. And sometimes we need messages from life to let us know, like, all right, you've went a little bit too far over here. And sometimes those messages show up in your children. They show up in your wife or your husband, you know what I mean? Who, like they show up, and it's for you. Like when the universe presents them to you, will you listen?
Yes.
and will you act on them? And that's kind of like where I'm at. I'm like, okay, I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm going pull back a little bit and let me figure this thing out.
My brother. It's funny you say that because I had that epiphany, if you will, my last trip to Africa in 2019, and a friend of mine was like, yo, you don't sound like the same Tad. Are you all right? Because I was talking about the movement and where we were headed, and I was like, we really need to regroup and reevaluate, because here I'm in Africa doing all this great work with the children over there, for 4 years in a row. Back then I said, you know what? I can be doing the same thing back in the hood in Bed-Stuy, because sometimes, we're African people and we get so African centered, we try to out African the Africans.
Yeah.
We over in Ghana and 95 degrees with thick mud cloths on, thinking that's how the people dress. Like I'm home, as opposed to really absorbing the weight and the gravity of our reality on the continent as well as the diaspora.
Yes.
And we don't have to be super African, super Negro to be our authentic selves. And what I hear from you in terms of the transformation is expanding your voice, not just finding yourself, but growing into it, because we should constantly be growing. Whoever we are today, we better not be the same people 5 years from now.
No doubt.
And not saying we have to forfeit our values, but expand on them and start putting things on the scale like my yacht. What's useful and what's not? What is serving us and what no longer is? And sometimes that's even relationships. That's even affiliations with certain people and ideas. I always tell people, think for yourself, but work for the group. Because one thing I've learned about this movement, it's almost like a monolithic thought pattern we have to have. And if you're not in agreement with Dr. Such and Such or Reverend Such and Such, you're a sellout.
Sound just like
what's wrong with me having my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas? I've been to Africa. I've been in the trenches, in the streets. I've been to jail. I have life experiences as a Black man in this world. I've literally touched African soil. I literally heard them gates close, literally laid up in the hospital to get closed up from Black on Black violence. Like, I understand what we're going through. And I have my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas, because not only that, I'm studied. I've read Dr. Clark. I've read Dr. Amos Wilson, read Malcolm, read Dr. King, read so many of our greats, and then get to work with sisters like Sister Keisha and the likes, brothers like you. It all has value and hold weight to the conclusion I may come to in terms of how do we move our people forward. Because some people are of the mindset that we can only vote our way out. Some people think we got to shoot our way out. So, like, everybody think that it's only going to be one way we can reach liberation. And real quick, the one thing I always say, and I have to ask a lot of people, what does liberation look like to you, that individual? Because the liberation Dr. King fought for wasn't the same liberation that Nat Turner fought for. Wasn't the same liberation that Joseph Saint fought for. Wasn't the same liberation that Equiano fought for, Shaka Zulu fought for. There's different stages to what we call freedom. I've been in the dungeons. Those ancestors wasn't fighting for equal rights. They weren't fighting for desegregation or integration. Their fight was different. Every generation have a different fight. And sometimes in this movement, we see people still holding on to old school fights because they haven't updated their information or even assessed the landscape of where we are. Police brutality, that's a fight we're going to have until we win. So to just say, oh, no, we got to get rid of police brutality, that's a given. That's a given. It shows we need to eat food and drink water. It's just bigger than police brutality. And what you're doing, and I employ all of our Africans to do, is conquer the mind, the defeatist attitude that we have, that we hold on and ourselves thinking that we can't win, because some people honestly don't believe we can win. In fact, when we were having arguments with Killer Mike, that was his platform. You can't win. We can't. I'm like, whoa. Garvey already said, if you think you defeated, you already lost.
Twice defeated in the race of life.
Yeah.
You listen. What you just broke down is so important because it takes courage to truly be willing to listen to your own voice, right? And honor what your own voice is telling you to do.
Yes.
Because oftentimes in our community, we talked about war being the imposition of someone else's will onto you. Even within our own community, you have people that will impose their will or their way onto you. So, it's like it's an abusive relationship because if you don't do it this way or believe this thing, then I'm going to express disappointment. I'm going to remove, connection from you. I'm going to not show you love. I'm going to
Right.
disown you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this happens like you talked about the dictating to the next generation. Like this is what you do. And if you just think about like I'm learning a lot of this stuff from therapy, but like the parenting styles, like the shaming tactics that you
Yes.
use to control and manipulate people, a lot of us are the victims of maladaptive control and manipulation. And sometimes we speak to ourselves in that same language. But what you doing, bro, is real. Like you asking questions like why should I do it this way? Like I don't have to, I'm not of any less value to our people or to our struggle because I don't believe what Dr. Such and such believes or because I see it a
Right.
different way. And if we're not going to create space for our people to be able to express their own will, then what are we fighting for?
Thank you.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, what are we truly like fighting for? Because I'm not trying to, liberate. I'm not fighting for liberation so that I can be a new oppressor, so
Thank
that
you.
you can now do my will. Like, no, like what I want though is your will to be based upon our African values, right? Because at the end of the day, that value set, that programming is what's going to inform your behavior and your actions, right? So that is a cultural or a communal creation.
Yes.
So that's important. But like once we have that in common, like I'm not trying to force my will onto you. Like I'm not trying to
Right.
manipulate you to do anything for me. Like if you don't want to do it, I will respect your yes, I'll respect your no. But I'm still gonna rock with you as my brother. Like so for
Right.
me, like I have a wide range of people I'm in community with. I still got my family like that ain't conscious at
At
all.
all. Right.
I still got my homies who from the streets and they like, yo, I rock with what you're doing. It's positive. Like I like to see the change, but like they on what they on. But I
Yeah.
still rock. So I'm not unbearable to be around. I can
Right.
come around you wherever you at. I can talk around regular black people in the bar because I'm regular. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to bring this to you like, oh, you gotta be on what I'm like, no, bro, like that ain't how you connect with our people. And that's just
At
that's
all.
just that's just me. So I'm not putting on a costume. I'm not trying to be like you said, like because if I'm African and I'm secure in my Africanity, it's already in my heart. I don't
There you
gotta
go.
put on a costume for you to validate it. You ain't
Right.
gotta stamp it because you can't take it from me. You can't
There
take
you
it from me and you can't give it to me because it's already mine. I've already claimed it. So I'm secure in
Right.
that. So I appreciate you putting on what you put on the table.
No doubt. No doubt.
That's what's up, my brother. And we ain't gonna hold you long because I know you're a busy man. But let the people know where they can find you, your broadcast, what you're doing, how they can reach out and check you out every
Yeah,
week the way we do.
I'm across all social media. So that's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Omowale Africa. My website is www.omowaleafrica.com. If you want to reach out, hit me by email at info@omowaleafrica.com. I get a lot of DMs, so sometimes it's hard to like keep up across. And I'm also trying to withdraw from being so accessible on social media. So apologies if you DM me and I don't see it because they got the message requests from people who you don't follow. It's like a weird
Right.
space
Yeah.
online. So the best way to contact me is email me at info@omowaleafrica.com. Other than that, if you try to hit me on social media, if I see it, if I have space to respond, I will. Sometimes people write me like long books in the comments and I'll like read it, but I don't really have time to like
We
reply.
know the feeling, brother. We know we get the same stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so listen, I appreciate y'all having me on. I do got the kids upstairs. And to everybody who's watching the replay, y'all make sure y'all like, subscribe to my sister Keisha, my brother Tad, Thorough Black Talk. Subscribe to their channel, like. Please do support the campaign. The campaign hashtag for freedom of famine. The documentary Hannibal: The Fight for Food Sovereignty in the South. The link is in the chat. You can give a contribution. We have 13 days left before this first campaign closes out, because at the end of the day, like, we'll take what we raised in the first one. We'll go shoot what we have to shoot in Atlanta, DC, and Chicago, cut together a trailer based upon those initial interviews, and then raise the money to get there. We go, like, it's going to get done, like, one way or the other. Like, I'm too creative not to get done. So it's going to happen.
That's what's up, brother. Always a pleasure to have you black with us. Always, always. And again, give our best to your family, your wife. Salute to her. And you keep doing what you're doing. Very, very proud of you, my brother.
All right. Peace. I appreciate y'all.
Peace, brother.
All right.
That was our brother, Omawali, Africa.
Oh, in the building. So, family, you want to be down. The same way we came in here with Brother Gerard with the film on Marcus Messiah Garvey. You want to be down with this. You want to be a part of history. Now we got our brother Blacksmith, a.k.a. Troublemaker number 2 in the building. What's up, brother Black? How you feeling?
A.k.a. Oscar the Grouch from the Bronx, pushing away them children. He said, them kids ain't from the Bronx, get out of his face. Come on, brother Blacksmith. How you going to do our baby like that?
Hey, I'm breaking the cookies down and turning them in the pot and sniffing it.
Oh, here he goes. Here he goes. Troublemaker number 1, troublemaker number 2. Here comes troublemaker number 3. Here we go.
Brother Ashe.
Get that, brother. Get that.
What's the word, y'all? I was in
now we got these crazy temperatures.
I was in the background, watching. It was such a good conversation. I forgot I was supposed to come on the show. I was a fan for a second. I'm just watching, note taking. That was official. That was an official conversation, man. Shout out to that brother for real. Definitely want to see him on the platform more and support everything that he got going on, man, because it's real work. It's real work. But that was beautiful, yo.
Yeah. Yo, this heat is because of Brother Blacksmith. Remember a couple of months back, he was talking about them solar flares. He done turned it up on us.
Yeah, it's his fault.
Hey, Keisha, you want to talk about that video I sent you a few days ago? Did you watch it?
About the alarming numbers of Yurugu dying from this heat?
Okay, I'll let you get it. Go ahead, talk about it.
Well, it is what it is. All over the globe, hundreds of thousands of white folks is dropping like flies from this heat. In Europe, and here in the United States, I think over 1,000 here in the United States. People passing out like flies in this heat. Well, I'm so glad to be black today.
So the Roe versus Wade ain't helping them? So the reversal of the Roe versus Wade, that's no? Too early? Nah. I don't. Y'all go ahead.
That's the trial that man, I get the name in a second. Y'all just go ahead and talk. When I remember, I'll come chime in on it.
Well, I thought the heat was going to stop COVID, but maybe not, because they said Biden got it now. So, oh man, I don't know.
It's crazy.
They messing with the temperatures.
I don't think it's COVID. I think they just spelled dementia wrong.
Don't your president got it now?
That's what Ashe just said. Supposedly, look at her. Now she's showing Sesame Place.
But wouldn't it be crazy though if Biden died from COVID? Wouldn't that be crazy?
No, not at all. I was thinking the same thing a little while ago.
That wouldn't be crazy.
Not at all. He's old. He's frail. He's supposedly already senile. What?
The point that I'm making is what makes it crazy is he's vaccinated and triple or double or triple boosted. Yeah. So if he died from COVID, what is that saying on America and the vaccines? That's crazy to me. I mean, I'm not saying it's far-fetched. He probably could or would die, but I'm saying it's interesting to see how this plays out. That's what I mean when I say it's crazy.
Okay. Hey, check this out though. I know y'all heard about it, whether you focused in on it or not. There was an explosion at the Hoover Dam 2 days ago. And
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, the Hoover Dam. It's out in Nevada or Colorado, somewhere out west, somewhere. But anyway, the point I'm making is that is one of the places that's also supposed to be bombed amongst 34 of them, one including the White House and the other one Buckingham Palace and a few other places of note in the world. The Vatican got it last week. Then the Godstones and all that other stuff going down. And they saying that the reason why the Vatican got it is because they blowing up the dumbs under it.
But now, who do they think is doing this? The aliens, the reptilians?
Nah, it's the white hats or the good guys or whatever you want to call them. I ain't gonna put no name on it because I don't want to start a controversy here. Right. So them guys. In other words, let me give them a name then. The Gnostic Illuminati.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what's up. So I wanted to move on into this story that's been circling all over social media about these two children, I guess they're from Brooklyn, who attended Sesame Place in Pennsylvania and was shaded by one of the characters. Sesame Place tried to put out comments that it was a one-time event, that they're going to have some sensitivity training and so on and so forth. But, you know, there is now a compilation of videos that many parents have put out as far as the shade their children receive at Sesame Place. Me personally, I've never been there. I always thought it was stupid. So I never took my child there. Of course, she's gone on other trips and school trips like that, but I never went because I always thought it was stupid. And I think Sesame Street is stupid. I don't care who founded it, but that's just my opinion. Of course, a lot of people loved it. So, you know, you guys saw this video. I'm going to play it real quick, and then we'll come back and discuss it.
Look at Elmo. Oh, God. Oh, wow. You missed them. I know. Yeah, I wanted to hug. Look so high. Look. You see her face? Oh, they missed. I love. They walk right up the arm way faster.
Wait, explain what happened, because I ain't even really peeping. What happened?
So the children were waving and trying to get the attention of the characters. The characters shook all of the white children's hand, but no children who look like us. The Sesame Place put out a comment that this was a one-time event, that they are now going to have sensitivity training for their employees. However, many parents have also put out videos showing that their children too were also shunned at Sesame Place at different times. The family from Brooklyn, the video you just saw, they are in the midst of a lawsuit against Sesame Place. But, you know, we already know what it is as far as our children are concerned. Now, I didn't see any commentary of Black families or Black children boycotting Sesame Place. Nobody talks about that.
Right. And it'll be hard pressed to do, because our folks, as we was talking with Brother Omawali, you know what I'm saying, the mental space where our people are. And I'm, for the record, Sister Keisha, I do like Sesame Place, and I'm glad my children haven't had that experience. I'd have snatched somebody out of the costume.
Stevie Wonder, Sesame Street, damn, Keisha.
Hey, look.
I don't like nothing.
We just, yeah. But no, you know, it's sad though, because I think this is something Dr. King talked about too, you know, as a father, as Dr. King the father, you know, his children wanted to go to Fun World, and Black folks wasn't allowed at Fun World, and he talked about this is the importance of us building our own. That's why I say it's very important that we fight on so many fronts, because we're being attacked on so many fronts. And this is, I wouldn't even call this microaggression, because our children felt slighted. They felt that. That's macroaggression. As the young kids say, they got dubbed. They went to, you know what I'm saying, try to get some love, get acknowledged. And one of them, what they did like this, or like, it's like, nah, you out of here. You know, and that's disrespectful. And it's unfortunate because, as you stated earlier, Sister Keisha said she don't care who created it, but I was learning early in the week that it was created to combat the images of white folks in the media, you know, a place for our children to learn and have fun. And it's just so sad how no matter what we create for the benefit of our children, because even this work we do, even this platform right here, even though we talking to adults, this is for the better future for our children. At any time our children get slighted, all of us should take some level of offense and be outraged. Now, again, like I said, I'm glad this wasn't my children's experience. However, these are still our children, if you understand. My blood children didn't go through this. However, these Black children who are still ours got to go through this. So this is why it's so important that wherever we are in terms of creativity and imagination. In fact, earlier today, I was thinking about Dr. Amos Wilson's book, Awaken the Natural Genius in Black Children and the Developmental Psychology of the Black Child. And in Awaken the Natural Genius of Black Children, he talked about the importance of cartoons and make-believe. He said it helps develop our children's imagination, you know, and imagination is very important. It helps you, it's how everything in the world was created, from our thoughts and our minds. And we have to stoke this for our young people. It's very important. It's just unfortunate that not only do we as adults have to fight this aggression, but our children have to fight it also. So we do need our own fun world, so to speak, our own Sesame Place, Great Adventure, Dorney Park, whatever. Because why should our children have to boycott being children? Why they can't go to an amusement park just because we got some idiots who don't want our children there or acknowledge our children, and we're not creative enough to create our own space for our children. And that's why I appreciate you, brother, I say, and Sister Keisha, for assisting with Party, you know, along with Sister Tim. You know, we definitely always feel the importance of being child-centered. With all this information, what good does it do if you can't pass it on to the children and make it applicable and fun in their life for them to want to grow up with this knowledge and say, yo, this is cool. Me and Sister Tam always talk, and she always tell me how some of the children that she had always talked about the value that they got from Party, you know, and that's what we want. We want our children to grow up and remember the good times they had being with Black people, learning our story. Because I promise you, this would have definitely been a topic within our peer group and study group on how do Sesame Street relate to their development coming up as children, you know, watching Sesame Street, and how do they feel about what they're witnessing now? You know, these are conversations we always have with our young people, you know, to provoke thought and couple it with African consciousness. So what would they do different? So we could shape these young minds that when they grow older and have the resources and the creativity to create these places for the children coming behind them. You know, this is important. But this just shows you where we are. It's a barometer of how far we have to go in Obama's post-racial America. And I'll step off my soapbox.
I'll just say real quick that Sesame Street long time ago was gone. It wasn't good for us anyway, because remember, first of all, they said Oscar the Grouch was a Black man. Y'all remember that? The meme, they put that meme out. They said Oscar the Grouch was a Black man. You know he Black because he live in a garbage can. He homeless. He ain't got nobody love him. Everybody throw dirt on him, and he never happy. So he was a Black man. Then they had Ernie and Bert come out the closet. They came out the closet. Oh, y'all ain't hear about this?
Nah.
I did, Ashe.
The closet at one point as a couple, Ernie and Bert. They even got animated cartoons of them and they couple when they living in their house together. And it's craziness, man. So, and that's just what I know off the top. Then they introduce new characters here and there. You know, It's always been suspect and not good for us, you know. But one thing I didn't see enough, at least, was people sharing alternatives. Because, like Tad said, we should have, you know, we didn't see a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm not going in no more," things of that nature. But right now is a prime opportunity for us to take advantage of that and be like, "Yo, if we're not going here, then let's go somewhere where we can actually spread the dollar and circulate the black dollar amongst our people." It don't have to be an amusement park. We got a lot of black historical places, houses that have been turned into museums, you know, things of that nature, like what Party was doing, taking bus rides and taking the children out to see these real places so they know that it's not just old people up here on Thorough Black Talk that's talking about back in the days and history lessons and things of that nature, but that these are physical places that these children can go and visit, and it's something that they can actually touch and feel and sense it. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just reading it in a book. It's so many different alternatives that we could do, you know, to make it even a more powerful moment, you know, instead of just sitting back and feeling defeated and weak. Like, damn, now we can't go to the amusement park no more. You know what I'm saying? Well, most of the time, you save up your whole year, you know, just to take the children on vacation to go to Disneyland, right? You save up for a whole goddamn year just to take them in, especially if you got multiple kids. So all of that money you've been saving up for this one huge yearly event so you could take them there. How much of that money would have came back to the black community and would have actually empowered you and people that look like you if we would have did that and created healthy alternatives instead of just, you know, saying, oh, because from what I heard in the video, they said I didn't even hear them say if they fired anybody. They said that they're going to give classes to teach them how to be preventative so this don't happen again. You know what I'm saying? But they didn't talk about removing these people or firing them or any kind of, you know, penalty for that.
They must be police.
What'd you say?
They must be police. Same thing happened with the police when they killed one of us.
Exactly. This is the same scenario that we keep going through. So it's not surprising to me at all, but it's just unfortunate because even after this situation, you got people like I was hearing y'all conversation, you and Brother Africa, and you got people that will literally fight against it. They love Sesame Street so much. They grew up on Sesame Street. Just like R. Kelly, just like listening to R. Kelly, they'll fight you. They say, oh, it's only one. They said it's only one incident. It's only one event. No, I'm going to take my child to the other Sesame Street where they nicer over there, the other Sesame place, not this one. Just don't go to that one. Go to this one. Instead of using this as an opportunity for us to really create some power. You know what I'm saying? We sit here and we want to argue against each other and say, no, it's all right. I'm going to just don't go to Ernie, go to Bert or go to Elmo or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it's the mentality that we have. We psychologically damaged. So we just got to get out of that and start. I remember when things like that happened to me, I remember I went in the goddamn corner store one time. It wasn't no Sesame place. It was the corner store. And I see brothers coming in talking about what up, and they extra comfortable and cool with the dude behind the Arab dude behind the counter, extra comfortable with them. You know what I'm saying? And then a one little mistake that the dude behind the counter do where he slip up and call you the N-word or something. Oh, it's a little mistake, right? Nope. Now you feel the difference. You know what I'm saying? Or you see the Ak behind the counter and he messing with the black women, trying to push up on the black women. You know what I'm saying? Or selling the K2 and the 4 logo to the people in the community. Now you upset, right? Well, what you gonna do? You're gonna say, oh, I'm not going to that store no more, right? Or you gonna say, oh, I'm gonna just go on a certain day when that person ain't behind the counter. Or matter of fact, let's do this. Let's say, oh no, put somebody black behind the counter. That's what I want. Just why you ain't got nobody black working in here? Remember Spike Lee? Why you ain't got
That's right. Why ain't no brothers on the wall?
Why you ain't got no black people on the wall in this pizza shop? Because it's an Italian pizza shop, god damn it. What the hell your black ass doing in an Italian pizza shop? You need to create your own black pizza shop. Even if you want to sell Italian pizza, do that. But it's a black pizza shop, or you can sell some African goddamn pizza. Put some jollof on the top of that pizza. It'd probably be good.
Yo,
no.
Ashe, pizza in Africa is delicious, bro. I don't know how they did it, but it is delicious. I kid you not. Pizza in Ghana is banging.
Hey, Tad.
Well, pizza in Jamaica is a disaster. They should stop trying.
Yeah, no oxtail on the pizza then.
No,
You say, Brother Blacksmith?
No, there's a black-owned pizza shop right over here in my part of Bed-Stuy that actually does put oxtail on the pizza. It's a vegan pizza shop, and it's actually delicious. They got really creative.
Vegan oxtails, Ashe.
Wow.
Vegan oxtails.
I think it's oxtails, brother. It's some kind of mushroom or something. I don't know, but cuts and slices. It's actually a really dope spot. Ooh, he used to be a sneaker. He still is. He was a sneakerhead. And he was selling like sneakers. It was a sneaker store, and then they turned it into a sneaker/pizza shop. And the lobby around the corner, black owned, cuts and slices. If you rappers go in there and all of that, cuts and slices, look them up. They make all kind of creative pizzas with crazy toppings on it. But go ahead, Brother Black.
Is it Daddy Green from Harlem? From The Last Dragon? Daddy Green's Pizza?
They got the Daddy Greens over on Malcolm X, but nah, it's not the same thing though.
Remember The Last Dragon? His father had a pizza shop.
Wow.
Directly
one
your
of the dudes
pizza
at Daddy
to
Green's
Daddy Green's Pizza.
One of the dudes from that movie just passed away a few weeks ago. I forget his name right now.
Show enough, right?
Yeah, there you go. That was he played that character.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Shogun of Harlem.
Yeah.
Wow. Rest in peace to Shogun. The baddest motherfucker in this whole town.
Y'all talked at the same time. What y'all say?
Nah, I said you were saying something. If we cut you off, you were saying something.
You, Tad, you was talking.
Oh, no. I was just quoting The Last Dragon, brother. That was it. Just quoting The Last Dragon.
Anyway, that's the mentality that our people have, man. Like, we'd rather see, and it relates to the same thing that's happening with this whole quote-unquote social change. This term that they keep liking to throw out there. And, like, we talked about it on our show before. These organizations, big companies, they just put a black face in there to do the same white supremacy. To still uphold. I don't know why our people don't get it. We don't learn. So now, I wouldn't be surprised if they have a new manager or whatever you want to call it of Sesame Place. It's going to be a black woman. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they're going to do. They're going to put a black person to do the same goddamn oppression.
Well, hold up, Ashe. Not necessarily black, a person of color.
Hey, she'll be Indian and look like Kamala Harris.
Yeah, right. Or could be Asian.
Did y'all talk about
Indians or Asian?
Latina?
Did y'all talk about this new thing, the B1? I just heard about it today for the first time. Y'all got to fill me in on that.
Oh no, B1 is. I mean, you know what it is, Ashe? People take that's been our ideology. Black first. That's it. B1 is black first. But what it is we're so fragmented because this also falls in a line with the FBA and the ADOS movement and all these interchangeable components that goes into who we are as a people. So I get it, black first, of course. I mean, Garvey told us that. I thought that was a no-brainer. But now people just hold that. They say black first, and if they don't see black, then everybody else is second. But how hard are you going to look for the first? So that's the caveat with the B1. Yeah, I'm black first, and then I'm everybody else. But then the question is, how black is your black? And I'm not, I ain't the black police. I ain't the black referee. Tell people how black they are or aren't. However, that's the contradiction in the B1. It's a part of a language because everybody is shifting words around, creating these new language. Like when we was coming up, there wasn't no intersectionality and fluidity. It was just boy, girl, bull, dags. It was just, it was, all these new words didn't exist.
Yeah.
And B1 is a new addition to the lexicon.
The thing about it though is it's kind of redundant. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know if it's an organization. I don't know nothing about it. Like I said, I'm just learning today, but I'm just going off of the phrase itself. B1 is kind of redundant because we already have a race first. That's what everybody's supposed to be, race first. And in fact, race first is a better slogan than B1 because race, if you just say race, I mean, of course we know race was a construct that was created by these devils, but we know we have taken it and now we're talking about people that are our people. You know what I'm saying? Of African descent. That's the race. Wherever you spread out through the continent, whatever you call yourself now, you still a descendant of Africans. So race first encompasses all of that. But now when you say B1, black one or black first or whatever, you got a lot of black people that don't identify as black, especially on the motherland in Africa. They don't call each other black out there like that. They starting now, the youth is starting to pick up this term black, because there's no need to call each other black out there when everybody out there looks like it. There's no black as opposed to white. You know what I'm saying? There's no white out there like that. I mean, they coming now because they trying to, colonize and all of that. But as original indigenous land, it was all our people. So Africans out there are now starting to adopt the word black just because we popularized it. You know what I'm saying? But there's still a lot of people of African descent that are all brothers and sisters that don't call themselves black. Even here, if you talk about people here, you got indigenous people, you got all these people, Moorish people, all of these people that don't call themselves black, but we know that they are people. You know what I'm saying? So now if you saying that you're not B1 and you're not black first just because you don't go by the name black or whatever, but you know that's our people, then like you said, Ty, it's just another way to marginalize and like make us, separate from our people. It's like kind of divisive, if you ask me. It's redundant and divisive.
True, and that's the same kind of mechanisms that are used in gender identity now. It's the same mechanism. Now you have people say they don't know what a woman is. Like, for real?
Yeah.
Like, for real? Like, this is crazy to me. Like, I don't know. I can't get with the crazy. I just move to the left because I can't mess with crazy. Goal is to stay sane at all costs. But,
yo, Sister Farnessa said, I'm black only, just like other groups are only for themselves. I like that. So now we could say, oh, I'm not B1, I'm BO. Right. Hey, yo, not that I got BO.
Wait a minute, I say.
I don't got no BO. But I'm saying I'm BO, though. You feel what I'm saying? But now if I say I'm BO and you B1, and then my homie across the street is B2 and B3, then we all different. That's tribalism again. You feel me?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is, Ashe. Tribalism. That's exactly what it's come down to. And that's why I mentioned earlier, if we're not careful of not learning the mistakes of history, we are doomed to repeat it. I don't care. If you want, like Brother Tad said, if you want to call yourself the head of lettuce, fine with me. What we gonna do about this Urugu?
Word.
I don't care what you want. All right, good. Now what we gonna do about this Urugu? Let's get it. Call yourself what you want. Believe what you want. I don't care. How we gonna get this idiot off of us? That's all I care about. And we can work on that. You know what I'm saying? If you want to be a Jesus loving freak, go ahead. Jesus lover all you want. If you want to be Muhammad loving all you want to, I don't care. What we gonna do about this Urugu? Stop letting these things, separate and divide us. So, B1, B only, B whatever. I'm definitely black first. We definitely race first. We are not confused over here. We know where the origins of our people come from. We are not confused over here. And yet we know that we migrated all over the globe. Before a thing of enslavement was conceived. We were migrating all over the
thousands and thousands of years.
Facts. And you don't want to know what a woman is? Dank Nash already told you. Point blank and the period. She is the first and the last. That's it.
That's right. That's right. And I was seeing because I don't be on social media hardly at all anymore. But I went on 1 second and I saw this conversation with somebody who's talking about the B1 or whatever. And it's like a lot of the people that are black, African descendants here, but identify as black. I mean, I'm black, so I hate to say it like on a grand scale. But when I see these people talking about B1, it's like they literally intentionally trying to exclude African. Because we had a lot of black people that have this theory that like it's dangerous. Like it's not what Tad is saying, where he's saying like we are one people, but you, like I say, the battlefield is where you stand. So we here in Bed-Stuy, we're gonna do work in Bed-Stuy and branch out and collectively do work everywhere for our people. You know what I'm saying? But we have some of these B1 people that I see that are literally talking about only doing stuff for people that are here and excluding Africans in the continent. You know what I'm saying? Or even in the diaspora. And that goes to that conversation where, you know, people like it's divisive, where you even got Africans in America that don't believe that Africans in the West Indies should get the same exact, you know, treatment, and we should be the same people, you know, like just because the struggle is different, you know what I'm saying? Or you got Africans in Europe, Africans in we all came from the slave ships, you know what I'm saying? That's where we came from, you know, and people were just separating it. And like people say like, oh, reparations, when we talk about reparations, you know what I'm saying? They make it seem like African Americans are the only persons that deserve reparations. You know, we all deserve reparations. I believe that even the Africans on the continent deserve reparations. Because if you snatch a baby out the goddamn hands of a mother in Africa and take the baby to America, you can't tell me that you only giving the baby reparations. You know what I'm saying? The mother, the grandmother, all the people that was hurt and affected need reparations. Every person that's an African descendant on the planet deserve reparations. So you can't tell me that, oh, this is just for African Americans here. And this is, it's really divisive. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. Like somebody said, a lot of people say blood debt. It's a lot of debts that need to be paid, you know, but they need to be paid. I know that. I don't know how it's going to happen, but they all need to get paid, and everybody need to get paid. All of our people, not just one little designated people. You know what I'm saying? Because then if we do that, we're trying to play the chosen one. We trying to say, oh, we higher than now and we better because we had a different struggle. Then what kind of tension is that? We already got tension between Africans in America and through the whole diaspora and on the continent. We already got healing that we need to do. So why we want to set ourselves up for failure and put more roadblocks in between us when we need to be breaking walls down and creating more bridges? This ain't make no sense, family. But yeah, I'm gonna pass the mic with that though.
My thought on that. I believe we all deserve reparations, as you said. However, I don't believe one element should be fighting. Meaning, wherever you came from, and voluntarily came here, or anywhere, you should fight those entities that enslaved us where you reside. There has been a lot of heavy lifting, or you know, on one group as opposed to all groups, and that's problematic. We were transposed throughout the globe. So, like Henry Highland Garnett, for example, I'll use him for an example. Born here, enslaved here, however, he moved throughout the globe and spent a lot of his life in Jamaica. Then he moved back here. You know, he was Bed-Stuy native. So, should he be obscured from a reparations package, if you will? No. But I think that we have to fight on all fronts. And if you came willingly, you have to fight where you came from. You have to push pressure on the French, on the Dutch, on the Belgians, on the Spanish. We have to fight for reparations on all fronts. It should not be a heavy lifting toll by one group or another. When you fight on all fronts, everyone wins, because the goal is to bankrupt Urugu while we enrich ourselves. And in order to do that, we have to have multiple fights. So I understand that perspective. I also want us to understand that the way enslavement worked, some of us weren't allotted to whole families or whole companies. Some of us were rented out. So, for example, if I own Brother Black, right, and then Ashe needed some work done on his property, he can rent Black from me. But while Black is in his possession, he then takes Ashe's last name. So there are a lot of elements that are involved in this, and this is why I say it's very important that we study local history to understand the enslavement whole that different states, counties, districts, and countries had on our people. If we can fight on all fronts, we would have had reparations yesterday. You can't have one group of people doing the heavy lifting and the heavy tolling. That's not going to fly. And so that's why you see a lot of division that are going on in these social media spaces, although they have no historical background to stand on.
My
Because
thing
the
is,
argument itself is fragmented. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah, I agree. But my thing is this though, like I said, I'm gonna repeat what I always say at the end of the show. The battlefield is where you stand. So if you come voluntarily, me personally, I don't care. If Africans come voluntarily from Africa and they come to America and they fight here for reparations, I feel like they should get it. Because I don't care where you fighting at, as long as you fighting. You know what I'm saying? If you sitting back, if you come to America willingly and you sitting back and then you're not fighting and then you feel like, oh, I should get a check, no, then that's not the case. But if you are African, like Amilcar Cabral coming from the West Indies, you know what I'm saying? Or Africans coming from, you know, all over the continent that are real revolutionaries that come to America, you know, even like Garvey. Garvey came from Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? Was in Harlem. If we would have got reparations in Harlem, I wouldn't have told Garvey, yo, you got to go to Jamaica and fight whoever on Jamaica. You feel what I'm saying? Like, to me, what matters is that you fighting. Because if the battlefield is where you stand, you could be born somewhere else. But if you join that black army, you know what I'm saying, and you on the front line, then you deserve it. Coming from me, that's my point. So I get what you're saying about the lines and the jurisdiction and all of that. But to me, it just matters, where's your heart at? Are you fighting for it or not?
Well, you know what's crazy though, because it's so multi-layered because of the Europeans weren't working in unison in terms of colonizing and in enslaving us, because the Spaniards had enslaved Africans, you had the French, you had the British, the Portuguese, and those were separate empires and civilizations. So, like they'll always talk about 1619 as if that's when we got enslaved. But no, that wasn't. That was British rule of our enslavement. Portuguese was a little bit before that. The Spaniards was a little bit before that. So even when you look at the time frame, because now let's say a continental African comes to America, fight for reparations, right? But now are you getting it on the premise of your people being enslaved and you get reparations here in the US, and then you go back to Nigeria and get reparations from Great Britain because they colonized Nigeria? So now do you get two checks?
Hell yeah.
But now what do that do for us over here that can't get into that Nigerian bread?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? How does that really work?
We should all get, look, just cut one big ass check. God damn it.
But they're not gonna do that. I mean, I'm in agreement with you, but in the reality on how they're gonna look at it, because who got the resources, who got the means? Because a lot of these people ain't even gonna try to go bankrupt. Not for us. And see, again, we can't keep asking. We got to organize effectively and become a formidable force. And then just roll.
That's my point. So if that's the point, if we doing that, if that's what we doing, then we're not worried about where the check is coming from, because we all getting it. You know what I'm saying? We all fighting for it. We all gonna take it if we have to. We all getting paid. We all getting.
Well, that's gonna be a challenge, because I'm trying to get some people to get off the stage from twerking. Like, stop twerking. And I'm talking about dudes. I ain't even talking about sisters. We trying to get some dudes to stop twerking. Like, my dude, we got bigger issues going on. You wanna do the make it bounce challenge? I don't know. We dealing with a traumatized group of people that are soaked in insanity, and us that even consider reparations and fight for it and advocate for it. We're a small group. And most people will look at their job as reparations. Even as I've heard elders talk about the Black Panther Party for self-defense. You say what happened, and people are like, yo, they got jobs. A lot of people got jobs. And this is what's happening. People, and I'm going to pass the mic after this, people only fight hard when they're uncomfortable. Once you give them their level of comfortability, they forget about the rest of the team. And we see it in R&B groups. We see it in so many organizations where you got egos at play. People get what they want out the deal, and you be like, you turn around to everybody else. Yo, I got mine. Now go get yours. When in the beginning, it was ours. It was us. You know, the sellouts. People are literally selling out left and right. And I think this goes back to the conversation we was having with the brother Omar Wali, how we got to really, really look at the value in propaganda. We really got to give our people a paradigm shift and make what we doing not just trendy, but really get our folks to see the value and the benefit in fighting for what's rightfully owed to us. Because people don't see it as such. And then we look at our communities get gentrified, wondering why other groups got this, that, and the third. And that's because they work together. But our folks don't see that this system is designed to keep us apart and not working together, because they see the strength in our unity. This is why, even when you read Howard Zinn's book, People History of the United States, in the chapter of our enslavement, he talked about how Europeans saw the value in breaking up our family, because our family structure was our strength. Out of all the things that was done to us, would have broke any other group, would have obliterated them, knocked them off the planet. But for us, getting our family together, getting back with the family was our strength, and they recognized that. So even after enslavement, when everybody was quote unquote emancipated, people literally went and found their family members. It wasn't just like, oh, they got shipped off here, there. People combed this country. Remember, this was the wilderness. This is a foreign land to us. But we went and found our family. This is why we as a group always hold family reunions in such high regards, because no matter what they did, they couldn't break us, because the family was everything. But look at where we at in 2022, where siblings don't get along. People don't listen to the lessons that grandma taught us, knowing how to navigate in this world. See, the problem is we come into this world, and I'm not saying us on the show, I'm just saying younger people specifically, we think we know more than the people that came before us. We may know new technologies, we may know new dances and trends, but we don't know the fundamentals of human behavior. How our parents and grandparents could look at somebody and say, that's not your friend. And you'd be like, nah, he be in my class. He said, that is not your friend. Certain little nuances, body language, all of that. Our elders got that third eye developed, where we are just still learning the world. And even at, they say, even our brain is not fully developed until 25 years old. So at 20, we think we know everything. And at 25, you can't tell us nothing. But the fact of the matter is, we got to get back into the tradition of honoring our ancestors, not just the historic ones, but grandma and papa, the ones who's been on this planet long enough to have seen way more than we could fathom, to the point they don't even talk no more. But they be like, yo, I ain't even gonna say nothing. A hard head make a soft tail. You know, so we got to get back. I say all that to say that we got to get back into that dynamic of the family structure that kept us alive this long, kept us going this strong. Because as sure enough as we see the opposition dwindling off from natural disasters, we see them turning up the annihilation of us, as Dr. Francis Cress Welsing talked about. They fear of genetic annihilation, which they are proving and putting in their own speeches and reversing laws like Roe versus Wade. We really got to be mindful and just get active, and we can have our reparations. We can have everything that we want and some of the things that we lost. But we got to get unified, and that starts with the family. I know I'm speaking to the choir on the panel, but this is for the audience and people who may have not heard what we're about. Because it's easy to holler black power, but if you don't have that dynamic within your own family, where are you really going with it? It just all become rhetoric. You know, organize your family first. That's how you practice. And when people see your family really got your back, because ain't nobody gonna vouch for you more than family. Your family know if you real or if you full of it. And then the community will jump on board. And then from your community, then the state and your nation, and then you could just go ahead. Like, that's what Malcolm was. Malcolm wasn't the first one in the Nation of Islam. He was one of the last. His siblings brought him in. But Malcolm had the support of his family, then got the support of his organization, then the community, and then the world. But we got it's to what you say, Ashe. The battlefield is where you stand. Do what you can where you are. And if all you got is your family, then you start right there and move forward. But I'm going to step off my soapbox.
Yo, we got to touch on this reparations combo again, because I see, the audience is commenting on it and things of that nature. And I know Keisha could break it down on a technical standpoint. But to be clear, we know very well that, like I said, debt's gonna be paid, and it's not just money. You know what I'm saying? So we are well aware of that. But me personally, if we talk about what reparations is, I mean, we talking about the root world repair. They will never repair us. You know what I'm saying? The enemy will never repair us. So we know this well. We were just talking back and forth on a level of currency. You know what I'm saying? Right. But they will never repair us. That will never happen. You know what I'm saying? So at least speaking for myself, that's what I feel. They would never repair us. It's up. The only way we're gonna get reparations is if we repair ourselves. And that's multi-layered. There's so many different levels to that. But don't get it twisted. Like I'm saying, I don't want reparations from these devils because they owe us. They definitely owe us. And there's a lot of black people out here saying, I don't want no reparations at all, or we don't deserve reparations, or blah, blah, blah.
Well, I'm not saying I don't want it. I'll take that. I'll take their portion.
Yeah, I definitely want it. But do I think they're going to give it to us? No. Do I know that we're going to have to take it and make it for ourselves? Yes, that's exactly what it is. But I feel like we should touch base on this because at one point, this was a hot topic. What was it, a year, 2 years ago? It was all over. It was in a presidential campaign.
Many years.
Now it's zip, right? Silencio. Silent. You don't hear nothing about it no more. You know what I'm saying? So, and we know a lot of other people that don't look like us got their reparations and continue to give reparations to this day. But me personally, we know they can't even afford to give us reparations if they could. If we had our greatest minds right now come together, and matter of fact, didn't a bunch of doctors and people did come together and say, okay, well, they would have to pay us this amount according to how many years and how many people died and how much slave reliever. Somebody, I forgot who it was, they came up with a number and it was like this amount. And I remember I was like, that ain't enough. I don't remember who it is.
I think Johnny Cochran was one of the people working.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
I'm sorry,
that's what's up. Well, either way,
no, go ahead, say it.
Either way, that's not enough. That's not enough. Like somebody in the comments said, money is not enough. We know that. You know what I'm saying?
Right, never. Right, but it's a start. It's a start because this is why it's called the race. And I always got to stress this to people because most people don't realize it was Carl Linnaeus and Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, as our brother Omar Wali Africa was citing Dr. Joy DeGroove's book Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. She did an essay on that part, like where does racism come from? Who created races and classification of the races? But now dealing with this paradigm of Western language, we know what a race is. A race is a competition. But what is the competition? Control of the world. Now, money is the means, it's the tools. It's the agreed upon tools on who's going to have access to certain resources. And that's all it is. It's not the end all be all because it's like somebody who's in the hood who hit the lotto. They get $5 million. They got the resources, but without the right mindset, what do? They squander it. It's the story, not to be a Bible thumper, but it's the same story of the prodigal son. Prodigal son got his money and he squandered it. So you always got to have the proper mindset before it can give you the tools. You know what I'm saying? I could give you a buzzsaw, but if you don't know how to work a buzzsaw, you're going to mess around and chop your leg off. So you got to get education and information. And then you have to have tools for the application of it all. So sure enough, as we need the money, we got to get our mind right first. And that's the only way we're going to get the money. As sure enough, it's in this new age, everybody talk about the law of attraction and manifesting. That's real. That's what we did in ancient Kemet. But everybody's so lost and so scared and spooked out, this, that, and the third, because they haven't really done the deep diving into who we are, on how our mind is our most powerful tool. And once we get our mind right, there's nothing we can't do. That's what Garvey talked about. Shoot, that's what Harriet Tubman said. She said she never felt like a slave because in her mind, she was always free. Free your mind, your ass will follow. But as long as you think you're a conquered people, as long as you think you're a victim, you're going to operate in that paradigm because that's what you subscribe to yourself. I'm not a victim. I am a victor.
Yeah.
And I'm going to jump off my soapbox.
I mean, they would have to literally turn over everything they have.
We have to take it. And not necessarily by physical force.
Right.
Because look at the Asians.
That's my point.
Yeah. Because look at what the Asians done. As Dr. Clark said in the Great and Mighty War. He said they ain't do no rabble round, they ain't do no picketing and marching. He said they went back and did some astute planning. That was it. Now they look at China, because he was talking about the Japanese when he did the Great Mighty War. But look at China. In the 1950s, China was one of the poorest nations in the world. One of the poorest in the world. Now they're a superpower. They don't even make demands like that. They just show up and say, we want this, that, and the third. We got the resources. What's up? And they got the manpower.
Oh.
Because they saw the value.
But Tad, check this out.
Yes, Brother Black.
They had some tanks lined up, I believe, in Tiananmen Square yesterday. It's the Chinese government said that nobody can take their money out the banks because it's considered investment money. The CCP is broke. They out of here.
The same thing, the turn up that was happening in Sri Lanka is now turning up in China right now. Serious business. And I often speak about, or used to speak about, the illusion of China's power. And many people from behind that wall are exposing and is, having, a relationship with someone who was born there, goes back and forth there, family resides there, and very politically active. I'm getting a lot of information, and I have been for quite some time. China is full of SHIT. And
stop Asian hate, Sister Keisha.
Okay, all right. I don't want Eric Adams coming from me. He protect them. So I can't be, I don't want no kind of trouble. I'm trying to stay out of trouble. Thank you, Tad.
But you were saying, though,
sis,
that,
Brother Black.
But you were saying it's an illusion of power.
It is. They are literally stealing from their populace. They are literally building up cities that are complete ghost towns. No one lives in them. It's just an illusion of what they have over there. And a lot of people are exposing it. Now, to maintain a level of power in less than 50 years is powerful, despite what's really going on in China. They've given the illusion, and they pretty much put their dollars in the pockets of anyone who would question it. That is how they maintain their power.
Yo, Keisha and Black, but check this out though. You said investment money, right? But where they investing that money though?
In the West.
And where else?
In the West, in Africa.
In Africa. We already, me and Ty saw that firsthand when we went to Ghana.
Yep.
They investing heavy in Africa.
In the Caribbean too. They got it on lock.
All over the world. Everywhere. You go any country in this world and find Chinese people. Anywhere. Small countries you barely heard of. They there. They're not the majority, but there's 10 of them there at least. And they all work together. Yeah.
They are master thieves. They are master thieves. But anyway, that's for another topic and another time. We definitely got to get into it more. As my brother Ashe said, maybe next week we'll pick this back up to break down this argument of reparations and world powers and where they stand today. Because right now China is playing a serious game on the world, and they use their money to do it. Trust and believe that. When you, as you said, you and Tad visit the continent, and you seen quite clearly the stranglehold that China has, but it's in the Caribbean as well. The heart of Jamaica is Kingston. That is its #1 city. In the middle of the city, in the middle of the business district, is the largest church on the island. It belongs to the Chinese. This is a fact.
Wow.
That's blood clot.
That's crazy.
Yep. Get away from the blood clot church, too. That's exactly what they say.
Hey, Keisha, wasn't there a situation in Jamaica recently where the Jamaicans said a hotel on fire because it was owned by Chinese and they was like, we don't want y'all here?
Yes.
Was it that Jamaica?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, there we go. That's just one more example.
I'm telling you, when I go in a few months, I'm gonna take some videos so y'all can see what really be popping on over there. But we getting down to the wire, family. We gotta cut up out of here. It's getting late. My brothers, your final thoughts and comments, Brother Black.
Okay, real quick, I'm not gonna take too long. I know it's late. As far as Brother Oban Wally, he's a very good interview. I wanted to say that at the beginning, but then we started clowning and I forgot to say it. So before I go, I want to say thank you to that brother, and I'm definitely going to show any support I can to him. As far as the world is concerned, oh man, it's getting crazy. The president or prime minister or whoever leads Estonia just resigned. Draghi resigned. He's the president or prime minister of Italy. Macron, and we're waiting for the ball to drop. And I love what Ashe brought up early in this conversation when he was saying, wouldn't it be crazy if Biden died of COVID? Because it seemed like he keep getting it. But so we got Macron, Trudeau, and Biden to go, and then it'll kind of be crazy from there on. Like I said earlier in the show, I talked about the Hoover Dam. There are 34 structures that are supposed to go down. The Three Gorges Dam in China, going back to China for a second, is also one of those structures that's supposed to fall. And then we're going to start seeing some real movement. As far as the money is concerned, being that they found more than quadrillions of gold, and we just found out about that 12 trillion they got in Uganda. You know what I'm saying? However we get our money is going to be based on that goal, and we're supposed to get our land back too, whether you from Africa, America, Turtle Island, whatever you want to call it. So, I mean, we are going back into our glory. I don't care what anybody say, we winning, and we just got to stay alive, avoid the snake bites and the people who shedding on us. Love and respect each other. I love y'all. Y'all know that. You know what I'm saying? We're going to do it again soon. Till then, I'm Flavius Jones. I'm in jail on Facebook, but that's my name. If you want to hit me up and friend me, Blacksmith is what they call me. Peace and love, y'all. One love.
All right. Yeah. We definitely want to thank our brother Omawali Africa for coming through, dropping the knowledge. Please check him out. Please support his projects, his effort. Brother Blacksmith, please stop giving so much information before them spooks start kicking in our doors saying how you know so much. Next thing you know, you're going to be carting all of us off. Beyond Facebook jail, messing with you. I just want y'all to know that I'm B1. Eric Adams.
They cut in when you was the Asian hate, not me.
What you said?
They cut in when me talking, not me.
No, please. I'm look, I don't want no parts of them people. I'm B1. Stop the Asian hate. Shout out to Eric Adams. But now family, on a serious note. We definitely thank y'all for tuning in, rocking out with us, getting this information. And of course, we got to add a little levity, get a little laugh on, because this is definitely serious times we're in. But as Brother Blacksmith said, regardless of what you may see in the media, we are winning. We always have to keep that spirit, that mindset. We are the descendants of our ancestors who would not quit and definitely would not lose. If it wasn't for them, we would not be here. So hopefully you are inspired by some things you heard tonight, and it's your turn to go out and inspire others. So y'all stay up, stay blessed, stay true, and remember, no matter how hard things may seem right now, it's always better days ahead. Brother Ashe.
Yeah, for the record, I never met Blacksmith in my life.
You don't know him? He hacked his way in.
It's a virtual thing we got going here. It's digital. It's not real, No, I'm just kidding, no, man. We stood next to a lot of people that, matter of fact, us ourselves, if we really want to talk about it, but we stood next to a lot of dangerous people. So, first of all, being not even just being a revolutionary, but just being a black woman or a black man is dangerous. You know what I'm saying? We wanted and endangered species already. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't scared of none of that. But just to be clear, I never met him in person. I never met him in person. But anyway, if the Alphabet crew is listening, I don't know him. But anyway, Yo, make sure if y'all going to the beach in New York City, please be safe. I don't know if y'all read the article. It's a lot of shark sightings. A shark just washed up on a beach right out here in Long Island. And then they have Rockaway Beach out here. Shark sightings, people getting bit up. Be safe. I know it's hot out here. You know what I'm saying? Maybe if you got to sit in front of the AC or put some ice on the fan. Take it back in the days where you put the ice on the fan and just sit in front of that to stay cool. Just be safe out here, family. It's very dangerous, man. Please make sure you look after your elders in this time when it's hot. Right now, a lot of people, they start to get sick and things of that nature, and we want to make sure that we keep taking care of our own. Because we know the response time from these ambulances, you call an ambulance, they don't show up till an hour later. They send the police first because they think it's a domestic dispute or something like that. But you know, we don't trust these devils. So we got to take care of our own. Look after your neighbors. Look after your elders. Call your family members. Remember, this is a heat wave. It's dangerous times, family. And let's just stay up. It's your brother, SJ. Always remember, true courage is knowing how to suffer. And the battlefield is where you stand. Sister Keisha.
Family, again, as my brother said, we appreciate y'all coming in to join us every week. Tell somebody to tell somebody. It goes down here every week. 8 to 10 p.m. every Thursday. We're going to close out with a throwback of our brother Mike Gray speaking on behalf of Sister Jennifer out in Long Island. Shout out to Brother Sachs, who came through and dropped jewels on us a few months ago. He too was there, and others. I want y'all to listen to this, and particularly our brothers. Pay attention. Have a great week. Stay safe. Again, it's my Earth Day weekend, so I'm not answering no phone calls from any of y'all. Leave me alone. I'm staying out of trouble. I don't know Black like that either. I don't know Tad or Ashe like that either. We just put that out there. Good night, family. We rolling out.
So right now, for this moment, I know there's some beautiful women out there, but for a moment, I gotta talk to the black men out here. What kind of man are you if you walk by and read that sign and didn't knock on the door and say, "Sister, can I help you?" What's wrong? Now, 100 blacks in law enforcement years ago had to come out here because a black family, John White's family, was threatened by 7 white men came to his door and threatened to kill his son and rape his wife. Well, we didn't see nobody coming to his aid. So 100 blacks said, we wasn't here for Emmett Till, but damn it, we're here for John White. Right. So we came out every day, escorted his family all the way to court out there in Riverhead every day, and even when he got convicted, because a young white man tried to take a gun out of his hand when he told him to get off his property. The gun was registered, by the way. They tried to take a gun out of his hand. It was 100 blacks in law enforcement that said, we're not going to let this brother stay in jail. It was us that petitioned Governor Patterson and said, but you got to let this brother go. We don't care what it takes. Governor Patterson, you're going to pardon John White. Right. Well, he did, and we brought John White home. Now, in this situation, to black men, this could not happen if you were on your post. Right. See, I see these sisters out here fired up, and I know they want to do something. Right. But I want y'all to lay back for a minute. I want to talk to the men. That white man made an assessment of black men and said, ain't none of them stepping to me yet. I harassed the person that had the house before Jennifer had the house. And nobody did anything. So now I'm going to harass her. Well, not under 100 blacks in law enforcement watch. If you dare touch her, if you think about touching her, you better apologize. Now, her garbage has not been collected in months. Do you know how dangerous that is? If you taking garbage every day and you gotta put it in your garage, you gotta put it off to the side, you call sanitation and sanitation say, okay, put it all out. You put it all out and nobody comes and bang, you get hit with a summons. Well, that means the city is liable. If a collection of garbage is not being collected in a proper manner. If she's getting summoned, don't that sound a little bit like, what's the state in Missouri? Come on, help me out. What's the city in Missouri that they was getting 10 summons a day? Ferguson. That sounds like some a crime on a government level. She getting summons for having dog feces and she don't have a dog. Now what sense do that make? Now when you have a dead squirrel in your yard, that's a direct threat against our system. We can't have that. We cannot have that. So I'm just saying, all the black men be on post. If you get a call, if you see something ain't right, you go check it out. Now, last but not least, he has been caught on film with a firearm. He is not registered to have a firearm, the son. The father's registered, he's not. Lock him up. So that means that there's complicity with the police department. If your garbage not being collected, if the threats against you are being ignored, and you're being summoned, that sounds just like Ferguson to me. A kleptocracy. That's what that is. So I'm saying to all of you, my beloved brothers and sisters, stand with Jennifer, not just for the day, throughout this whole ordeal. She's got a legal team, but she needs you every day. So be around. If you get a call, come by and check it out. If you driving by, slow down when you get to that block. Slow down and take a look. Get out of your car, even if it's raining. Get out your car and take a look and make sure everything's all right. If you're not sure, look twice. You understand what I'm saying? This ain't nothing to play with. We got a history of strong black women, and I'm telling you, Jennifer's one of them. I know some women that would have left already. They couldn't have taken it for almost 3 years. She's dealt with this for almost 3 years, and we didn't even know about it. But now we know, so the onus is on us. It's not for her to get pepper spray. The onus is not on her to get a pit bull. The onus is not on her to have an illegal weapon. The onus is on us because now you know. If you were here today, you know. If you're on the internet, you know. Whatever social system you use to get your information now, you know. Say I know. I know. Damn it, say I know. I know. Now you know. Don't act like you walking out of here and you don't know. You know. So from this moment on, you are deputized to protect our sister Jennifer. Say I'm a deputy. Damn it, say I'm a deputy. I'm a deputy. You've been commissioned by 100 blacks in law enforcement to protect our sister by any means necessary. Let me just say and end it that we thank our brother Meeks. We thank our brother Meeks because he didn't have to be here. This brother has been here for over an hour or two waiting for us to assemble.